What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, we have some unfortunate news. As the World Boxing Council, President Mauricio Sulaiman, board of 32 members, have denied undefeated, unified, three-belt, light heavyweight, WBC, WBO, IBF, world champion, Russian-Canadian superstar boxer Artur Beterbiev, who is 19 wins, no loss, no draw, 19 wins by way of knockout. He is 38 years of age, 5'11" and a half with a 73-inch arm reach, coming off of a impressive eighth round knockout victory over light heavyweight British superstar title contender Anthony Yard this past Saturday night in the UK, United Kingdom. The WBC has now denied Artur Beterbiev his petition to face off against undefeated WBA light heavyweight world champion, Russian superstar boxer Dmitry Bivol. Okay, Dmitry Bivol, he holds the WBA World Boxing Association title. He's 21 wins, no loss, no draw, 11 wins by way of knockout, 32 years of age, 6 feet tall with a 72-inch arm reach. He's coming off of two of the biggest victories of his career, beating Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez in his last fight, which was November of 2022. And then prior to that, the big one when he upset and dominated four-division world champion, who was the undisputed super middleweight world champion, Mexican superstar boxer Saul Canelo Alvarez, Cinco de Mayo weekend. Both wins was unanimous decision, clear-cut victories for Dmitry Bivol. Now, Dmitry Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev makes for an undefeated, undisputed light heavyweight showdown. And now the WBC has decided that they're going to step in and they're going to prevent Artur Beterbiev from fighting his from fighting against Dmitry Bivol in a unification bout and demand that he faces off against former super middleweight world champion, British superstar turned light heavyweight title contender, Callum, who's 29 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 21 wins by way of knockout, 32 years of age, 6'3" with a 78-inch arm reach. The WBC President Mauricio Sulaiman are demanding that he fights as mandatory in Callum, okay, opposed to fighting Dmitry Bivol in a mega undisputed showdown, right? Now, Artur Beterbiev, oddly enough, just satisfied his mandatory against Anthony Yard, right? And now the WBC president, Mauricio Sulaiman, says that they are not allowing him to fight anybody else other than Callum or be stripped of the titles, okay? This is what they had to say regarding this situation, which is unfortunate, okay? Says at the moment, I insist there has not been a petition from Dmitry Bivol, right? So they're saying that Dmitry Bivol has not petitioned him, right? For us, the mandatory fight is next, said WBC President Mauricio Sulaiman. Artur Beterbiev needs to defend against his WBC mandatory challenger and Callum next. Okay, it says Dmitry Bivol has to approach and petition the WBC to allow him to fight Artur Beterbiev, or they're going to force Artur Beterbiev to fight Callum. Okay, they respect Dmitry Bivol and they respect Artur Beterbiev. But why would Artur Beterbiev why would he not be able and allowed to petition himself to fight Dmitry Bivol? Why would Dmitry Bivol, who's the WBA champion, have to petition the WBC to be to have an exemption to fight Artur Beterbiev when Artur Beterbiev is telling you he wants to fight against Dmitry Bivol? Shouldn't his petition be enough? He's the one that holds the WBC title. Why does an outside entity have to petition the WBC to allow their fighter to have an exemption to fight a fighter outside? Why would they need that? Why couldn't he just go ahead, that being Artur Beterbiev, and tell the WBC, I want to have an exemption so I could fight Dmitry Bivol for Undisputed, then I'll come back and revisit my mandatory challenge in Callum Smith. Dmitry Bivol don't have a mandatory challenge in Callum Smith. Artur Beterbiev does. So why does Artur Beterbiev not have the power to petition to sidestep his mandatory, but they have the power, but the outside entity and Bivol has the power to say, we don't want him to fight his mandatory, we want to fight him? Why shouldn't he be allowed and awarded the opportunity to say to the WBC, I want to have a voluntary exemption to fight for Undisputed? I mean, it just makes sense. It just only makes sense. So you're telling me that if Terrence Crawford wanted to fight Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford has to petition the WBC to fight Errol Spence, and Errol Spence can't petition them. He has to fight Keith Thurman. What sense does that make? If Errol Spence is the WBC belt holder and he says, I want to fight Terrence Crawford for Undisputed, why can't he go to the WBC and say, I'm looking to fight Terrence Crawford for Undisputed. I need an exemption. I need a pass to allow me to go ahead and fight Terrence Crawford for Undisputed. Why would Terrence Crawford have to go to the WBC and say, I want to fight your fighter when he's not the WBC stakeholder? He represents the WBO, just like Dmitry Bivol represents the WBA. He does not represent the WBC. So how does he have more power and more say-so in what Artur Beterbiev next fight would be, more so than Artur Beterbiev himself, who holds the titles? This makes zero sense. So MAURICIO SULAIMAN is saying, I'll read it to you again, quote, at this moment, I insist there has not been a petition from Dmitry Bivol, who's the WBA champion. For us, the mandatory fight is next, said WBC President MAURICIO SULAIMAN about Artur Beterbiev needing to defend his title, his WBC title, against Callum Smith. Then MAURICIO SULAIMAN, he goes on to say, quote, Bivol has not approached the WBC to ask for an exemption. At our last convention, we were very clear about our position in relationship to fighters from Russia and Belarus, and that in this case with Bivol. What does that have to do with Dmitry Bivol looking to fight Artur Beterbiev and vice versa? It has nothing to do with it. If Dmitry Bivol is open to the idea of Artur Beterbiev fighting him, and Artur Beterbiev is telling the WBC, I want to fight Dmitry Bivol, then it should be off of Artur Beterbiev's word, not off of Dmitry Bivol. Dmitry Bivol should not have to petition the WBC. And then they're saying we have not been approached to ask for an exemption from Dmitry Bivol. So you need Dmitry Bivol to approach you and ask for an exemption for Artur Beterbiev to fight him, and he's your champion. Dmitry Bivol should be going to the WBA and telling the WBA, listen, whatever mandatories or obligations you have for me, can I set them aside so that I can go ahead and face off against Artur Beterbiev and cross the street for an Undisputed match? And Artur Beterbiev does the same for his respective sanction body and representation of the WBC. It just doesn't make sense. The politics within the sport of boxing just simply does not make sense. They don't add up. So why would they give Dmitry Bivol the wiggle room and the say-so and the power, and he don't even represent their sanction body? But they won't give it to Artur Beterbiev, who clearly told you he wants to fight Dmitry Bivol, and that's the fight that makes sense. And he's 38 years of age. Time is not on his side. I mean, Dmitry Bivol is 32. Artur Beterbiev is 38 years of age. Time is simply not on his side. So he doesn't have the wiggle room. You're telling him he has to fight Callum Smith. He just satisfied a mandatory in Anthony Yard. Why wouldn't he just, all the sanction bodies be on the same par, be on the same line, and just allow this man to go ahead and fight Dmitry Bivol for Undisputed? It's a huge fight for Undisputed. It's huge. They're both coming off of some signature wins in their careers. Now is the perfect time. The time has never been more right to stage this fight, period, for Undisputed. So this is clear case of politics within the sport of boxing, once again rearing its ugly head. Period. Dmitry Bivol has to petition the WBC, a belt that he does not hold, to fight their fighter, but their fighter is obligated to fight the mandatory for that belt. But he can be told that he could fight Dmitry Bivol if Dmitry Bivol agrees to fight him or petition to fight him. It's backwards. And that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.